catch myself. Okay, it's Tuesday, and I like to bring you into the playground and surprise you with more events that we do here out in the playground. So I have I want to share with you some things that have been talked about, conversations that have been going around here outside, outside Ifa Shay. And I just want to get your perspective, your midweek perspective. And I'm laughing right now. I can't stop laughing because I feel like you're gonna come with your fingers and your stern voice. So I don't know. I'm just laughing because it's funny. Anyway, the conversation that has been talked about right now, and I just want your insight. I want your insight because we're talking about Black men trusting Black women. And I feel like with our conversations, the conversations that, are shared within Sacred Waters Healing Temple, um, you have a very unique way of putting things when it comes down to relationships. Very unique, very beautiful. Um, I would say even sometimes it can be harsh but truthful, necessarily harsh. But um, I wanted to get your insight on these topics because I think there's some things that was missing was the Isheshe aspect of it. And when I say Isheshe, I'm speaking about eldership, right? Especially because it is called the Black Men Trust Black Women, a round table discussion, right? And so when I think about round table discussions, I think about counselship, right? And if we're speaking about Isheshe, we usually go to our councils for mediations, indifferences, understanding, right? Even if it's about sharing Odus, coming to just get the truth orally, get the truth of what things are. And these are conversations that are happening here in this time with most of the people at the table were millennials. So I would say like the age ranged maybe 27 and up, with the eldest being one of the known actors. I think his name Clifton or Cliff Powell, and he said he was 69, about to be 70. And he is really the only one that was on there that was of eldership, older than the rest of them. I think that there's even a large gap between him and the rest of them. Probably like 25 years or so. I don't know. Like they seem much younger than him. And so you got the age as a thing. A couple of them are of different genders, right? Classifying underneath trans. One of them being trans, another one being gay, a gay male. And then the rest of them seem like they all were straight male, heterosexual males. Use the right term. And of course they're having conversations about women, Black women, to be specific. And so, like I said, when it comes down to having a group discussion, I think the thing that's missing is Isheshe. And Isheshe meaning ways of our ancestors, the ways that things were done, and the truthful ways that things were done. And I know yesterday we had a conversation of the difference between tradition and civilization. Even in Isheshe, I know that we as a people were up civilized. We are already civilized before they decided to come in, right? And deem what is now civilized. So I think that a lot of their talking points, this is my preconceived, right, judgment of everything. I think their talking points were based out of engineered perspectives. Yes, they did have some that were experimental, like they experienced this themselves. They talked about personal things that they experienced. However, a lot of the talking points sounded to me like it was very engineered. Whether it was engineered in, oh, you're used to having these conversations with people who may be intellectual or of mental health, you know,
Mhm.
professions, right? Maybe like we like to say, the 30-second clips of social media, mental health, mental health professionals of social media, and then you also had the conversations from those who understand the educational aspect, like of politics, systematic things. So again, to me, a lot of the things that they were saying sound very engineered, and it's not to say that it's not true, right?
Mhm.
But if it's a round table and they're talking about men coming together to be mediumship or eldership, right, to seek counsel amongst one another, I didn't see anything that held. I didn't see much talking points that would uphold men of color,
Mhm.
melanated men, black men, in a in a ancestral way of ancestral healing. Does that make sense? I'll try
Mhm.
to explain it the best way I can.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So um again, it's one of the current topics. So I wanted to bring you in on it, being that I'm starting this midweek session with the lawyer, and just get your perspective. What you think?
I'm ready to get started.
All right, all right, all right. Um, so I can go straight in and find the points. Let's do that. Let me find the first.
We are smarter when we listen to black women. Not because all black women are right, but because all black women deserve to be heard.
Let's see.
Tragically died when I was 4. But
This is just
room and being told something and have not knowing information, who do I lean on, all those things that come to mind that happen.
you need to be ready to support and provide and do the things that you need to do. So that's kind of been my learning curve over the situation. And then just feeling horrible for
you know. Let me pause this because
movement.
what I think I don't want to skip over the intro of where they're starting at. I don't want to do that because I don't want it to be like you just responding to whatever. So let me just get a grip first of where they're starting at. I don't want to skip. All right.
Legacy of the Black Power movement. And I don't think you can get any closer to power than the person who birthed it.
Right. Yes.
The black woman, right?
Yes.
A lot of the time, it's black men that stand in the way of it, right? That get in the way of, what we're supposed to be empowering, what we're supposed to be collaborating with. And so when we're thinking about things like, Sister Song is steeped in reproductive justice. And when we talk about reproductive justice, it's the human right for bodily autonomy. Now, here's the thing. I get into all the academic terms and then I get confused. So we gonna get into it for real about what this means to us, what the human right to bodily autonomy, the human right to have kids, to not have kids, to parent kids in a healthy environment, to set up that environment, and what goes into that actually means to us. And I want to make sure that the way we talking about it, other people can understand it, because I know for a fact, if people came to me however many years ago and was like, "Hey, what you think about
Can
reproductive
we stop
justice?" I
there?
would have a very confused look on my face. And I'm like,
Okay, because other than that, we just running, the video. Okay.
Mhm.
So my take thus far
Mhm.
is I'm not really feeling this.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, and I'll have to agree with you when you stated that it seemed like socially engineered and the almost scripted, you know, responses. So here we have starting off, okay, with an introduction that doesn't really fit the topic. The heading is black
Black
men.
trust black women roundtable.
And so now he starts off with the whole, you know, academic, social economic, you know, and he starts well, reproductive rights and black men getting in the way. It's like, what does that have to do with the topic? So it's like, the way you start off is generally the direction that you're going in. So I can see, I can sense already that this is not going to be deep. Okay, in response to, in respect to the topic, the heading. If we're talking about trust, then let's talk about trust. Now, if we want to talk about, the legal and the societal dimensions, then put that in the heading and make that what we talk about. You see, so right now it's coming off, still disassociating the female principle, and how we feel about entrusting it, putting trust into it. Now that's just my reflex reaction, but I've been around this a long time. All right, let's see what else they got, and I really just don't want to see the whole video, but let's go.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what that means and how we engage with it, but everybody here comes from a different perspective, a different life, a different experiences, and we want to bring that to this conversation. So I know that there's no way to get there without the empowerment of Black women and centering Black women in that power talk, in that power struggle, in that power strategy, in that movement, in our behavior. And what in y'all's eyes does that mean to you? Like, from y'all's experience, what's your connection to or experience with reproductive justice, and what does that actually mean to
But
you?
what does that have to do with the trust? It's like, come on, yo. What? You know what I mean? But if this is what's out there, then this is what's out there. But and you asking me for my, responses, and I'm giving it to you, because other than that, I'm just as bad as they are, in terms of, well, we're going to talk about, trusting, or is it necessary, or do we really trust our women? And why? Why not? But we're going to start off talking about reproductive. What does that have to do with trust? It's he might as well be running for office. These are political agendas. Trust is something that happens between the heart and the minds, you know? So are we going to get to the trust factor, or are we just putting that out there as a heading to get people to watch the video? I've seen that happen, because right now it doesn't seem like it's about, do I trust you, my queen? Do I trust you to fulfill the goal that we, to assist in fulfilling the goal that we have agreed upon? How do we establish that trust? Why can't we establish that trust? These
Mhm.
become matters of concern. But here again, so you're going to have a group of men sitting around talking about women's reproductive rights, and there's no women at the table.
He said that they should be at the center, but there's not a woman at the center of that.
So you understand. But if this is the state where, you know our black men are, it's it's more far removed than I think we'd like to admit. And this is where Ifa and Isheshe come in, and this is where my experiences come in terms of consistently rebuilding that trust that is continually under bombardment, under attack by white control, manipulation of the media, okay, historical disfigurement, and erasure of our religious and spiritual construct. Because I bet you every man sitting at that table, ask them what religion they are. Now, one of them going to say Ifa Sheshe. Not one. Trust me.
This one right here, later he mentioned something about ancestry, but I don't know to what extent that goes.
You can say ancestral in terms of history. And have nothing to do with spirituality and religion. Because if they're all coming from, and that's not a question of if, that's a statement of if they're all coming from a Judeo Christian or Islamic background, their view of women is going to be much different. Much different. I'm not saying totally 100% different, but much different than people's relationship with the feminine force in Ifa Sheshe, in Aboriginal societies, in Native American societies. Okay, it's much different than the patriarchal white male dominance that they created their whole religion around. So black men are affected by that. And that's why they're coming across like they're coming across. Might as well be a bunch of white boys up in there. Well, we're going to talk about women's reproductive rights, but there's no women in here. We're going to control the narrative. You see, that need not happen in Ifa and Sheshe. Our very Odu scriptures highlight the women and their reproductive rights. It's not a matter of discussion. It's a matter of our religiosity and our spirituality. So right from the jump, I'm like,
Mm,
y'all don't need me sitting at the table.
mm-hmm. Hey, you want to hear where they going with it real quick?
No, take your time, but I'm going to blast it. You understand?
I
Because
got my
that,
I got my finger ready for when you say to pull the trigger, okay, and I will stop so we can hear
oh,
what you got to
right,
say.
all right, like what they fucking talking about? You know what I mean? All right.
As a father, um, you fall deeply in love with parenting, right? And what that means and understanding the responsibility that it takes. But you also learn as a father, the mother ends up doing so much more than what you can offer sometimes. And it's just facts. You don't have breasts to feed this baby. You don't have the kind of just natural intellect to kind of carry things. That's why a lot of fathers just say, here you go, I don't know what to do, right? So I think for one, it's just accepting that, understanding that you are there to help produce and provide, but then there's going to be so much more that you can't, provide. And so just trying to be a support system around whatever your spouse or your girlfriend at the time is choosing to do with their body. It's something that I've learned over the years, personal experiences from having to make that decision to have an abortion, with your girlfriend at a young age to end up feeling like that you didn't have a say so in it, right? And then understanding as a man where you don't. Once you decide to go into that position and you put your seed into this woman, now that's her decision where to go. You can't say, well, I don't want no baby, or you can't have no. You should have thought about that before you saw. You know, so
Apology,
teaching my
man.
son
Good.
that, right, and understanding that you have a decision very early on in the process, but later on you don't. And if you decide to go through with it, then you need to be ready to support and provide and do the things that you need to do. So that's kind of been my learning curve over the situation. And then just feeling horrible for as we was talking off camera about all the women who've lost their lives in this situation and not being able to have the medicine that they need, and not only around reproduction and having babies, but even down to like fibroids, right? My wife struggles with that, and Black women not having the information that they need to figure out how to get rid of the fibroids and all those type of things. So whatever we can do to just kind of lean in and learn and listen, that's what I've been like. Same thing. If somebody would ask me a couple years ago, I said, oh, I guess my perspective may have been different, but now we're in a time where you really just want to have a different understanding. I teach my son that, and then also my daughter, what decisions she has to make before she lays down with somebody, and how it can change your life, right?
So it's incumbent upon you to have that information if your desire is to be a father, is to understand the woman's point of view and the things that they go through. We think of a lot of things that we go through, our upbringing, not having a father or having a father, all our experiences, and the dream of being a father, and having a son or a daughter, and what kind of father you want to be. All of that comes to mind, but before inception, those thoughts never came to me in the sense of what she would go through. How would I handle being in a waiting room and being told something and not knowing the information? Who do I lean on? All those things that come to mind that happen when you're in the delivery room, or the process of having a baby or having a healthy delivery and all of that stuff. And then, I think it's absolutely important for us to have these types of conversations and have these thoughts leading up into the idea and actualizing fatherhood. I think
Okay.
we've set ourselves.
So I
Yeah.
was just about to say, it like you said, the point that that they're starting the conversation about Black men trusting Black women, and the first thing that they go into is them being a father at before anything is interesting to me. Being a father or being that role, that figure in a woman's life before anything, before even establishing the trust. Like it makes me wonder, and this is something that I've thought about before, is in the persona that they have always been given, that to be a man, period, means to be this, to fill this role in a woman's life. And it's like, are you a man? Are you a man? Have you had sex yet? Have you had a baby yet? And then that immediately makes them man. Man enough to be trustworthy to a woman. Even at my point where I am, like in the age that I am, I because I don't look at it the same as I did when I was younger. Of relationships anymore, I often question why a man feels so. Why do they feel so eager to want to fill that role? It's a big responsibility, anyways. Why do you want to come into my life to be somebody's dad? Why is that the first thing versus building a relationship with me?
I'm going to answer the question as a man. Okay, that's not what we're taught. It's and some people say, well, it's a primal thing, and you grow up watching aggressive males get the rewards. Okay, and one of those rewards is the woman. It's not because you established a relationship with her. It's not because you were really trying to understand her. Now you're gonna wait till she get pregnant to try to understand her, which is what I'm picking up from them. Okay, and there's no way you can understand it. You can gain some knowledge of it. You know, you can try to navigate around what little bit you know. But the truth of the matter is, you don't even know yourself. You put 100 Black men in a room and ask them where their prostate is.
Right.
Now, depending on how old they are, most of them won't even be able to tell you.
Mhm.
You know, because see, that's not a part of the conversation. You don't even understand your own body.
Anatomy.
And yes, literally. And 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 now all of a sudden you gaining all of this understanding about, well, yeah, I understand what she goes through.
Mm.
No, what you understand is you have to make sense of it. That's all you understand. There's no way you can understand it, you know,
Mm.
because you are not it. You can just understand the repercussions of it, you know. And so that's my point. And so and now it kind of continues with, again, you know, and not about establishing how do we gain trust, you know,
Mm.
how do we gain trust? And I'm saying that one of the ways to gain trust is to say, if that's what you're going to talk about, then talk about that. You know, why is it difficult to trust a black woman, and look at how men distrust women, generally speaking, in a Western society, because that's what we were raised in, you know. And again, if Eve is the cause of all sin,
Mm.
and if women are persecuted because they speak out, and if women aren't allowed to vote, and if women can't even determine their own reproductive system, it's completely male dominated. And what type of males get the woman? Not the ones who show trust and compassion.
Mm.
You know, it's the ones who hit the hardest in too many respects. So we don't trust women because we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves with women. And that's why in our black communities, there's so much domestic violence, you know? And then he talked about the whole thing about abortion. Well, that's her choice. No, it's not just her choice. There's family, there's state and government laws, you know, that dictate whether you can or can't have an abortion, you know? So it's not, oh, I made you pregnant, so now it's just your choice. I don't
Mm.
really kind of flow with how he isolates. Well, it's just on her. No, she has a whole family that has now got to come together,
Mhm.
you know, and then they try to decide what's best. In my time, you might be sent somewhere, you know, sent grandmas down in a whole nother state, or you just disappeared, and everybody was like, "Well, I haven't seen such a, Janaya, or Maxan in such a long time." It's like, yeah, they had to go stay with their auntie, and everybody's like, "Mm-hmm."
Mm. If they were to get an abortion, or if they were to be pregnant and then,
Exactly. But
okay.
but see, it's just not on the decision of that one female.
Hmm.
A whole lot of other factors come into play,
That makes sense.
either to get the abortion or to have the baby.
Hmm.
But it's not just her decision, you see? And see, and that's a fact, at least in 99.9% of the cases. So how are you going to talk about trust, you know? And you're still not accepting the the not the immediate, but the extended family. And
Yeah.
the reason why we don't include the extended family, because it's not a part of the Judeo-Christian kind of mindset.
Mm.
It's all about the nuclear family.
So the nuclear family is not of tradition. That's a made up.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a myth. Oh, it's just a mom and a dad and the kids.
Yeah, I was thinking about that myself when I think about certain families that I do know. It's like I grew up knowing a couple different women, a couple different moms,
See?
because my dad, the man that raised me, had
Mhm.
several children with several different women. It probably wasn't, the best, right? Because it comes with what it come with. But
Mhm.
I knew other women. I knew at least five off
Mhm.
the bat of other mothers that we would either go chill with. She done made us a meal, made sure we went to school or something.
Mhm.
So okay, so that's just not the nuclear family is what is made up, and it's not natural.
How can it be? How it's impossible. It makes no sense. But see, where these, well, at least from what I heard thus far, where these brothers are coming from is from that kind of ideal, mythological, oh, well, you better be ready to deal with it if you're going to impregnate her and all that kind of stuff. No, you can't snap your finger and make somebody ready,
Right.
you know? You have to have a whole cultural background, a whole spiritual and religious background that gives that young male, okay, a sense of valuing the woman.
Mm,
They're young and they're exploring, and then she gets pregnant. His background is not going to have him even say something like, well, it's just her decision,
mm,
you know? So I hear these brothers, but it's real clear um, where they're coming from. Um, Interestingly enough, but I think we do need to dialogue about what they're saying.
mm-hmm.
You know. All right, let's go.
The patriarchy of it all, we center ourselves, we're the ones that make it happen.
Nah.
Listen,
And I would say something. I was raised by women,
right.
and I
Same.
ran into some brothers a couple of years last year when we were running for election who felt like Kamala couldn't
Mhm.
lead.
Crazy.
I said, but your mother ran the house.
Right.
And my mother
Now we're
tragically died when I was 4, but my sister who
Sorry.
raised me was a gangster.
Mm.
Could take $1 and balance the budget like in 25 minutes,
Mhm.
$100. So I think that in order to trust Black women, we gotta kind of like, I think you and I were talking about, or no, I was talking to my driver on the way over about holding yourselves accountable.
Mhm.
We 81% of people don't talk, and Black men have to talk to the women, and a lot of the women, and it's not 80% of 81% of women, it's 81% of people don't talk. So I think it starts with a dialogue. But I can personally tell you, I can't imagine walking around with another person inside of me.
Mhm.
And I think that we have to yield to women. And I don't think the government can tell you if you were raped. I mean, they're talking about if you were raped or molested, that you have to have that child.
Mhm.
I don't think the government should have any say in that. Along with women having a choice of their bodies, we also have to teach our daughters and sons how to be responsible,
Yeah.
not rely on the plan B, because abortion shouldn't be used just so you can all go out and have a good time.
Right.
Whether because we walk away, but women have to deal with the body, the change of your body. It's so much. I tell my girl all the time, I couldn't do it. Just having a menstrual cycle. I would say, God, can y'all let mine come it's like once a year? I could pay somebody once a year because I watch my girl go through the changes emotionally, and not just physically, but it's a lot of shit women go through.
Yeah.
So I think men, honestly, I think men need to sit down, shut the fuck up.
Right.
It's a lot that we don't see because if you weren't raised that way, you don't know. It's like you listening to you guys trying to be good husbands. But the women gotta let us in, and we can't tell them what to do. And I think this government has to step back and let women make choices for themselves.
Yeah.
Women are the first wonder of the world, despite what's said. It's the first wonder.
Exactly.
That's the only thing outside of God that I know that creates.
Yes.
First
Yes.
and foremost. The issues that we have are that the woman knows before we know whether or not life should be brought into earth, brought here, or if it should be aborted. They deserve to have that right for the simple fact of America does not
Okay, can
allow
you stop
us
it there because
to
he's
run a system the way we.
He is the one that I said sounds very engineered, but go ahead.
well, they all sound engineered, you know, but except for the actor.
Mhm.
I recognize his face.
Okay.
He's more on topic. He's more there, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, when he was stating about the whole, even with Kamala Harris, you know, most black men did not vote for her,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
because even though they were raised by women, as he so nicely pointed out, they're still raised in this society.
Mhm.
They're still raised with this religious background. They're still raised with this historical white patriarchal, you know, white men rule women, and the whole sexualization of black women in the media, you know. So even if you're raised in a house full of women, you're still in this little white washed world.
Mhm.
And so when you have somebody like a Kamala Harris running for office, the top office, okay, then all of those um, subconscious, you know, and all of those distrusting trauma and lack of self-worth and identity
Mhm.
come bubbling out, you know, because black men really showed how much trust we have in our black women by not voting for her. The trust is nominal. But and I like the way, you know, he pointed out, you know, that, you know, quote unquote, we can walk away. Or she get pregnant, well, you know, she go through something, we can walk away. And there may be some truth to that, but we only walk away because nobody's holding us accountable.
Yeah, that's what I
Like
was
when my
thinking.
brothers were growing up and they started with all of this and all of that, I would give the young man, I said, I'll tell you what, you know, she won't have to take you to child support. I'll take you. Look,
Mhm.
I'm looking at you, Danny. I'll take you because see, you're not going to walk out of here and do you and leave her with your baby. I will have you in that courtroom. They will garnish your checks. I don't care if you think you want to go to college or take this job or whatever. After the blood work come back and it says that's your baby, oh, you go and pay. Oh, you go and pay because I'm going to make sure of it. Because just like you feel as though you can walk away, she feels as though this despite what I'm trying to raise her, she's still in the same world that you're in. And just like you feel as though you can walk away, she feels as though you can walk away. But I'm here to say, no, you can't. You can't walk away. I will drag your ass to court and you will pay. Oh, and guess who did not get pregnant?
Mhm.
You see?
Mhm.
So no, the only reason we can walk away is because we're socially engineered to do it. The man and the woman,
Mhm.
you know.
When I
Uh,
heard you say
you know,
that,
shotgun wedding. You know, we used to call it shotgun wedding. You get mad because you made her pregnant. No, no, I don't need a shotgun. We're
mm,
going to family court, and you're gonna pay child support, and you just now 17, 18 years old, and you're gonna be paying it for another 18, 20 years. Think about it. Think about it, boy. Think about it. And ain't nothing you can do, because once they get their hooks in you,
Mhm.
child support, they ain't gonna let go. You don't pay it, you're going to jail.
Mhm.
Think about it. I'm telling you, think about it. None of my girls got pregnant
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
before their time. you know, but it
Whenever
was
I say
because
that, I thought about how, because the individuals that he's talking to are much younger than him, and so I was like,
exactly.
I think about this what I call the big homie project or whatever. I call it that, where it's
Yes.
basically a bunch of people that is much older passing down these thoughts or these ways of living that's very
Hmm.
irresponsible. For him to even say, "We'll just walk away." I know a lot of people with the big homie syndrome that's like of my age or even older that
Hmm.
really stick with that mindset when it comes to
Hmm.
building a family. Like we'll just walk away from it. Like that's their get out of ticket thing, and it's really selfish. It's humiliating. It's so many things to me. It's crazy that he even said that just outwardly. I don't even think that he thought about it to like the magnitude that you thought about it. But I
Yeah.
think that big just there's fathers who's raising the men that are sitting
Mhm.
at the table. There's uncles who sat and thought and probably had these conversations with these men that's having this conversation at the table.
That's an assumption. We don't know.
Well, where they getting the big homie energy from? The
From the
street,
world, from the
from the
world,
yeah, from
from
the
from
street.
the from the
Yeah.
media. Go on Facebook, go watch a movie. It's all there. Go to church. It's all there. It's
Yeah.
all there.
I did hear a few of
Mhm.
them mention that they
Mhm.
were raised by mothers. So he per se,
Yes,
he
all
mentioned
women.
he
Hmm.
mentioned that he was raised by a mother, but also he was in the music industry at a young age. So when you say media is there,
Yeah, yes, yes,
somebody's raising them true. Yeah.
yes.
Especially if they're my age in the 90s, late 80s, or early 90s, we definitely are BET babies.
Well, it's powerful that you brought that up, and you caught that about the music. Look at what happened to hip hop and rap. It went from trying to get us to trust one another, trying to put our queens on the thrones, to bitches and hoes, you know, and very, very, again, sexualizing,
Mm,
and people went for it because there's that lower part of mind. And then it was fast money, and people need money. There's not that many outlets. You know what I mean? And
mm,
so but we didn't design that. These were, basically industry people. And then
mm,
you come to find out that the same people who were running that music industry were also connected to people who run the prison industry.
right.
So you understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm,
no matter how hard you try, young people especially are still more victim to a world that promotes distrust.
mhm,
You know? Now I could work with my family, but I can't work with every other family, even on the block. Much less in the world.
mhm,
And I feel as though conversations need to be held around the father's responsibility, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, again, just dealing with the daughter. It's dealing with the boyfriend, the fiance, and when necessary, even the husband.
mhm,
Especially if they're a little abusive,
mhm,
especially if they are abusive. It's like she's programmed. She might take that, you know, but I'm not,
mm, mhm.
So now you got hell to pay.
All right. Because somebody's going to hold you accountable on a larger scale.
Exactly.
Mhm,
But that's not what I that's just but see, that's not the direction I see them going in.
No, I have yet to hear them speak about actually. Well, eventually, I think they
Okay.
got around to it.
All right. I'm listening intently.
Okay, thank you.
We should as a family. Men don't understand you may be the leader, but you might not be the provider. Do you know how to lead if you are not the provider? In the midst of trying to figure it out, we coming from a whole bunch of systematic. It's been constructed for us to be the way that we are, to think that we are. That's not how it was
And
programmed.
then talk about that program I mentioned where they took they paid
Black
take
fathers
black fathers out of the home.
And then from there, me and
Right.
Cliff was talking
Right.
about that. When it started with the Section 8, women were able to take care of the kids without the man being in the house, which gave her the mindset that I can be the leader because I have to be the provider. And then after that, it was the crack epidemic, which guys started using or they was going to prison. Regardless, we stayed out of the house. Now it's social media, and the thing is, we were always here to protect the black women. And if you ever seen the movie Sparta, men were actually the leaders, but the leader knew how to lead because he still trusted the woman with the gift that God gave her, which was intuition and discernment. And if you knew how to treat your woman and she knew how to love and that stress was off her, it allowed y'all to operate as a family unit to be able to trust her so she can be able to trust you. Once you realize how powerful that woman is, a lot of us run around, and even for myself, I struggle with being monogamous because I didn't understand the value of the woman. But once you put a woman next to God, would you play with God the same way? And if you knew what you possessed as powerful, I don't think that we would run around with the promiscuous mindset of thinking it's okay because we wouldn't look at women the way that we are downplayed the thing of how they are.
So I'm gonna interject
Real quick though. I think
That was cool.
there's something I think that's really
You think so?
Yeah, I can see. I'm a little shaky with how we started off, but it seemed like he got a little bit more on the cap than the first impression might lead.
Mm.
I
I
like what
just.
he was saying about leaders and providers.
Mhm.
Like the man can still lead and not be the provider. Now the question is, does a woman respect that
Right. In this day and time,
at the same time?
because they say that the higher in education and income that a woman receives, her um, her choices become slimmer, and she starts to kind of want to dominate men. Be- Either she's dominating, a black man,
Yeah, yeah.
or
Mhm.
or
I-
or or she'll be submissive and subservient, whatever, to a white man.
Well, yeah, all of the above, or just become somebody who wants a boy.
Yeah, they mentioned
You know what
that
I mean?
too.
'Cause
Mhm.
just some young man that has no real, but just a sex toy, in a human body, you know. But the deep part of what you're saying is that even as a professional, you know, in the educational field, I've had more struggles with black women administrators than any other group,
Mm,
than any other group. And it's not because I'm challenging their authority, but because I'm not letting them dominate mine,
yeah.
you know? And I'm like, come on, sis. You understand what I'm saying? That little piece of paper and this little position has got you spinning, you know? And so, no, I don't trust you. Not because I don't want to, not because I don't need to, but because you're not letting me,
Mm,
you know? So trust is a two-way street. So, black men trust black women. Well, what's the point if black women don't trust black men? What's the point?
mhm.
I'm trusting you, but you wearing me out, you know? Which is in some cases, as I sit at round tables with brothers, it's like that's why I had to leave,
Mm.
you know, because she just got it all out of proportion. And I'm sure I may play a part in that, but I'm really trying to stay cool. I'm really, you know, I'm really just trying to maintain. But
Mhm.
now here she come. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, do this, do that. Now, how come you don't do this? How come you don't do that? And you know, I want more of this, and I want. It's like, oh, God, slow down. You know, you know, like damn, how long we been together? You know what I'm saying?
But even in the work field, like you said, it's still the same. Once you see the way that they're acting in the professional field, like it doesn't align with your maybe teaching, or like when you say you won't let them dominate you,
Right.
is it like, oh no, this is the way it is supposed to be done? Are you even of this, like, are you even in charge here to even have a say? Is that like their approach for you to say, like, you're not gonna let this person try to dominate you? Like,
Well,
what do you?
that's part of it. That's part of it. If we're in a meeting, for example, you know, and I make a suggestion, why are you so quick to cut me down? It's like you didn't even think. And
Mhm,
here I am. I have more years experience in this profession than you do. You just happen to be in another position. And here you are as a black woman, and you're not even listening.
mhm,
Or you walk into my classroom and want to basically take control of it as if I'm not even there.
mhm,
Or it's like that's not how we establish a working relationship. You don't need to excessively dominate every point. There's some women who've been like in charge of community colleges, black women who get fired because they all into everybody's every little thing,
mhm,
and then people start complaining. Then workers are like, no, did you going way too far with this.
mhm.
And it's not like we were doing fine before you got here, you know. And then they find out, and then one situation right here in Newark, that the black woman who had the position, she was stealing money from the college.
It's always that.
Right. And so for all of that wanting to dominate every, minuteness, and then being like 4 times harder on the professional black male who, and like in my case, I'm recognized. I'm
Mhm,
awarded, but you're not even
mhm,
taking that into consideration because you see yourself as dominating over me. And I'm trying to establish trust for the betterment, not only of the profession, but the betterment of male female energies. You know what I mean? Some harmony here.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not going to give that up because you want to be dominant.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to dominate you. So why are you trying to dominate me? Oh, I know exactly why.
Fear.
You know? Oh, and just mind controlled,
Yeah, that too.
you know? Because everybody with a whole lot of education now and then ain't really that smart. So it's like, yeah. So in answer to your question, if I call it a, all of the above, all
Mhm.
of the above. Some positions I even left, you know, and scores went down because I left. But yeah, so just saying. Um, oh, and he talked about like men being in prison,
Mhm.
you know. Uh, well, and all that's by design. We know that. But before that, it was enslavement.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So here's another piece of the puzzle, okay, that
Mhm.
I don't see them, going towards, and that is how we were bred and tortured into distrusting each other.
Mm-hmm.
That generational trauma is still being fed, not as much, and we kind of growing out of it. It's probably going to take another 75 years,
We're gonna.
you know, if nothing doesn't happen to set it on fire again. But can you imagine during enslavement how, black men were set to be breeders and women were set to be breeders? So, there was no establishing of a bond. And how can you establish that trust if there's no bond?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about 700 years of this.
Mm-hmm.
And how many generations are in 100 years? 5. Okay. So I mean, that's just like 50, 100 generations, all these babies born. And from the cradle, they come to understand that trusting one another is hard. It's hard. And we're still under that. You know. Before Section 8, there was the welfare programs.
Yeah,
You
he
know.
mentioned that.
Mhm.
He said the men. Well, he said they were being paid to remove the men, and I'm like, how true? Being paid to remove the men? I understand them saying that there were programs available to them, but being paid to remove them, there's programs made available to women who are single mothers now, who have
Mhm.
become single mothers, right?
Mhm.
Would that be the correct way to put that? Not they were being paid to remove the man out of the house.
Well, in part, that's true because back in the day, even in my day, you know, um, if you were to receive welfare,
Mm-hmm.
you could not have a man in the home. You can have all the babies you want, but he can't live there. Now,
They were doing like welfare visits, like in
oh,
the
definitely, they come around anytime they want to. They ain't even have to call.
right, and just to see if the kids in the house and if there's a man in the house.
Exactly,
And if
exactly.
the man's in the house, it's like, well, who is this additional person in the house?
Or it's like it's obvious who he is, so you're not going to get a check. So, it was a reward system. Now you have to remember too that yes, people could have a choice. You chose to go on welfare, you know,
Right.
but I call that a choiceless choice because if they're taking away all the jobs, if they're, not educating you and you don't have a source of income, now you're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
You need a source of income. You might have 2 babies by now.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, why are you having babies if you don't, have a job or anywhere to? Well, because we're human. You know what I mean? We are set to procreate. you know, that ain't nothing you can just switch off and switch on. And we all need love in
Mm-hmm.
any kind of way that we can get it. So, so here we are. The man can't find a job. Okay. The welfare system comes along and says, oh, well, woman will give you money based on the number of kids that you have, but he can't be a part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now as time goes on, kind of fast forwarding, it might be um, he can be there, but he can't be working because now that's income.
So it still knocks him down as far
Exactly.
the dynamic goes with respecting a woman.
Exactly.
So now he will be there at home, babysitting the kids, collecting the check per
Yeah. No, or both of them will be there collecting that one check. Or that, depending on what state it is, he may not be allowed to be there. He can't put that down as his permanent address. It gets real tricky. But the bottom line is, as this young brother was pointing out, is that you get rewarded for splitting up the family.
Mm.
And it's just like slavery times.
And whenever I hear that, it makes me think, well, when thinking about the laws or helping to set laws and going out to vote, like with whom are you keeping in mind? With whose interest is at mind to create a system like that? Because if it's not for the betterment of that black and male family, black
Mhm.
woman, black man family, who is it of interest in to do something like that? On the other
Yeah,
side to vote that in.
right. Well, the interest is in the white, delusion of supremacy and actual control. They're not thinking about controlling people. They are controlling people, and they
So
got the money to do it, and that's what they do. And they get paid to do it. The states get paid from the federal. Okay, the
mm,
the, the cities in the area and the districts, they get paid from the state.
mhm.
You know, but along with the money comes the laws from the people who gain the most from it.
Mm.
You know, it's all designed to not have us trust one another. It has been since slavery times, on a mass scale of millions and millions and millions of people. We don't trust because we're programmed not to trust.
Mm.
And that's why ancestral systems come, you know, to to assist us in tearing that wall down and saying, for real, not just scripted. Like he mentioned, seeing the woman as God. Well, God sent. Well, you have to see yourself as God too,
I see, yeah.
and then you say, okay, well, together, you know, let's conceive new ideas and new ways of living and new ways of being because we still got these chains around our hearts,
Mm.
and it's hard to love because it's easy to hurt. You know.
And that's the reason why I said that I wanted to have a conversation from an Ifa
Yeah.
perspective with it, because I do think that, like I said, it's a missing piece to it. But there is all of these systems going on, and while we have, source, we have Ifa there to be of guidance, as long as we are willing to learn, as long as we're willing to practice, right?
Right.
Um, and if we have that as our guiding point, then where does one find ease when dealing with these real systems that are there, live, they're living, thriving, just
Hmm.
for men and women? It's
Hmm.
every day. So it's every day. It's like, okay, I gotta go out here for like 8 to 10 hours. You gotta work. The man has to go to work or whatever. Women have to figure out what they're gonna do for and they're really up against these things daily.
Hmm.
So how often are we going to be able to be like, well, let me go back and think of it. What would my ancestors do? What would Oshun do? What would Orumila do? What would Eshu do? Like, how are we able to remind ourselves and be there when we really do have to rely on these systems daily? They're already there. They already been designed. They already have affected families before
Well,
our time.
yeah. Well, that's a brilliant question, and part of the answer is we're doing it right now. You know, we're having these conversations. It'll be streaming live. So at any given point, these people who are working and may have, a set mind and never maybe thought about anything that we've said, they're now exposed. That's what we can do about it. We
Mhm.
have to keep projecting and promoting and demonstrating by even the way that we have conversations. I don't think there's anybody who can say, "Oh, well, the lawyer looks at IFAKOLADE, like somebody he doesn't trust, or he's the man and she's the lowly woman." That they can see it, they can hear it in our voices. So we have to model it and not just, you know, as you say, like read the script, you know.
Mhm.
And we have to be careful of the type of diviners that we go to, the readers, because in the syncretisms, Ifa is so watered down and diluted by Catholicism. You get Catholics who basically take parts of Ifa and Isheshe and build themselves up in it, but they still have the same Catholic approach,
Mhm.
and they weave that in to how they interpret the Odu. So my suggestion is to open up a virtual temple, if you will, which is what we are literally doing, and
Mhm.
and saying that if you have any question, if there's something in you that is a shadow of doubt, then come to us and talk.
Mhm. Mhm.
We can provide counsel.
Mhm.
That's what we can do. We can't get on Netflix and we can't get all into wherever you are. We can't go to your job and all that kind of thing. But we can let you know that we are here.
Right.
Okay.
Because it definitely sounds like there needs to be a little umi tutu, ella tutu, ana tutu, or something going on in the
Mhm.
middle of the conversations, because it was, like I said, I feel like it's a lot of scripting, a lot of social engineer, what to say, what's expected of them to say, what sounds good. A lot of it has been said, and there's a big missing piece of what actually needs to be said. That's why in the beginning it jumped from actually figuring out how to, in what ways are men and women showing that they don't trust each other, and why? How did they get there?
Mhm.
To well, her body is hers, and she has a right over it. And the law said this, and we as a man need to respect her body and the babies that we put in her body. To jump into that, to now talking about how they once put us out of the house for Section 8 packages, and
Mhm.
how they were put out of the house for Section 8 packages. And even that, if these are, if if these conversations are upholding narratives, and these
Mhm.
are the narratives that they're leading with, there
Mhm.
won't be no trust. It's, trust is going to take 50 years, like you said,
Mhm.
because the narrative that their starting point of the narrative is
Yeah.
not where, is not where it even needs to be at, to talk about trust. It's immediately talking about, like, is banging on a chest caveman type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm a father, these are my children, and
Mhm.
I belong in the house, and you let somebody take me out the house. Now, the next thing I can see it going to is blame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the next thing I can see is blame. Well, she accepted that check, so she put my granddaddy out.
Yeah.
He didn't have nowhere to go, so now he's on drugs or selling drugs.
Yeah. It's all
And
her fault.
so that's all. That's the only place I can see where that will be going to next, after him saying those things. Versus,
But you see how all that fits into the Christian mythology. It's the woman's fault. Eve took that apple. And Adam was so weak.
he
That
what he did.
Well, yeah, he went for it and they both got kicked out.
Mhm.
Okay, so the whole thing, what people won't accept is how powerful myth is and how it weaves itself into every aspect of our lives and our thinking. We aren't born thinking any of this mess.
Mm.
We're taught how to be antagonistic. We're taught how to, you know, cave in, if you will, to our lower emotions. And I'm saying, in some instances, you know, separation is good. You know,
Mhm.
separation is good. I can still trust you, even if I don't love you. Then I can still love you, even if I don't trust you. You understand what I'm saying? But I have to be the one to kind of determine how to balance that.
Mhm.
Oh, well, if you love me, you'll trust me. No. Okay. If we love each other, we will build trust together.
Mhm.
Because if you're asking me to abandon my common sense, and my defense mechanisms as
Mhm.
this love is growing, then you might be asking a little too much.
Mm.
But see, that comes with age and time. But when you're young, it's like you're ready to do anything for this individual. You just love them so much, and I trusted you, but I caught you, with my best friend and all that, and I thought you loved me, all that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
that's just kind of part of growing up. But we use those words so heavily,
Yeah.
and we attach so much meaning to it. And I think that's where we go wrong also.
Mhm.
It's not, when we were in a relationship, I kind of liked him. I kind of feel like it's love, but I don't know what love is. I'm 14 years old. I'm 17 years old. I'm 29 years old. I'm 73 years old, and I still don't know what love is.
That's what. Well, Clifton did say that he just now learned how to love at 69 years old.
And then find out that it ain't even that. That there's something more to it.
But the word love to me, I had learned like 23 years old. I was dating a Liberian, and he told me that in his country they don't even say that word. Like they don't express it the way that we do here in the West. Where it's like multiple people was but like
Mhm, mhm.
that's like French type of stuff to even say it that way.
Mhm.
It's definitely Roman or something.
Yeah,
And whereas they're just like it's a different type of natural embrace
yeah.
that reflects what love is, that you don't have to go around saying it again and again and again. And
Yeah,
so how they show up is
yes, yeah. Right.
that that love there is like omni.
Yeah,
And so when you remove that, then you receive it differently. Then it's like,
yeah,
I want to hear what you're talking about love.
yeah. And then how does that then have an impact on trust? Because if we made an agreement, and we're sharing our lives, and I'm putting all the little fancy things about love to the side, does that mean that I'm going to trust you more or less?
Mm,
You see?
mm-hmm,
Now, I think it just starts to boil down to individuals and
mm,
and what they've been through in either case, you know. And then what do you expect of a person that you trust? Like if I call it, I trust you, and then you say, oh, okay, I thank you, but then it's like, okay, well, what does he trust me to do? You
yeah.
know, uh, you know,
Now what next?
yeah, yeah. What does that mean? Because in my mind, I might be thinking one thing, and he might be thinking something else.
Yeah, and then now you're playing the goddamn Olympics.
Exactly.
Because
Mhm.
because what would happen next? Really, like, now I'm going to be performing whatever you may, whatever I think that you want me
Yeah,
to do.
exactly. Whatever you think I want,
Yeah.
not really knowing what I want. And maybe I can communicate that to you, but for the most part, as there was one good point that was brought up earlier, is that there's no communication. Like he was saying, 81% of people don't communicate. So
Hmm.
if you ask me, well, Oloye, what is it that you trust me to do? How is it that you trust me to be?
Hmm.
I need to know, because if I'm accepting the fact that you trust me, or you say you trust me, then we need to understand what that means.
Hmm.
It can't just be I trust you and then you, oh well, I trust you too. They're like, to do what? To be what?
To make lentils. To make babies. I guess that's according to what they're talking about. I trust
Yeah,
you to
yeah.
carry my child and make sure that you're carrying my child in a healthy way. Don't I mean, I guess that's where they going with what trust means for them.
Oh yeah, and how you know, I don't know how to weigh it, but if you're gonna use lentils, and I did hear you say that, it's like, okay, if those lentils mean symbolically to me that you care for me and that you're gonna make sure that I'm nourished and you're gonna be a part of what strengthens me,
Hmm.
that's what I trust you to do, you know? That's what I trust you to do. It's not because it's your job, but it's because that's what we've come to understand. It's part of our relationship. And then if you say, well, Loye, I trust you, and I say, well, trust me to do what? Well, I'm not putting any words in your head, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
perhaps it'd be, I trust you to show up, you know? It really does me good to know that you're always on time. You got work coming in. I
Hmm.
can depend on you. That shows me that you are predictably dependable. And that may be something that I've never really had before in my life. I need for you to be dependable.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so whatever else happens, whatever else you do, I know I can trust you to be on time and to have your ish together and keep us moving forward.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, cool.
Cool. Right. But without having that communication to understand that, then we wouldn't know. We just kind of like doing what we think.
Yeah.
And you make, and one time in the moment that they burn the lentils or make make the lentils too hard, now
Or,
I'm gonna get a foot up your ass or something. I don't know.
or want to put hot dogs and and French fries on the table. And this shit. What? Where my lentils at?
Oh no,
Time
you don't
to leave
love.
this house.
Oh no, this you don't love me.
You
Cause ain't
broke
you
up.
not feed, yeah, because I'd be like, no, you don't love me. You're not gonna feed me no dog food.
Hot dogs and stuff like.
Well, I better make Loyer's lentils the way he wants, or else he's not gonna love me the same. He's not gonna show up for me the same. And I think that's a part of the communication is two-way street. Love is
Okay.
two-way street. And
Mhm.
so, but what if the moment comes where something isn't the same anymore? That then now are you moving the goalposts? I mean the goalposts or what? Like what's happening? I wonder what would they do then? And enough conversations being had to teach a person, you know, what that means or what that entails, I guess. And they need to have more conversation.
Yeah. Could you repeat that? I need to be more clear. They need to
Well,
have conversations about what?
what I'm saying is that if they have more conversation
Hmm.
about what it means to show up or to make the lentils whatever is expected of them.
Yes.
If they have more conversations about what is expected of them, then they'll understand, you know, how to love more. But I was saying, but would it come with what's the word? Not compromising, but conditions.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would come with conditions because, you know, what if they did make the food wrong? Or what if they don't show up? What if a person doesn't show up?
Hmm. Hmm.
Does that mean that that trust or that love then starts to fade away or
Yeah.
what? So, mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, everything comes with conditions. Okay. Even though they said, "Oh, it's shown that unconditional love," I said, "Well, that's no, no, that's not it. It's not unconditioned. Okay,
Mhm.
it's beyond the conditioned mindset, which means that there's another set of conditions, you know, that
Mhm.
need to be, worked on. So if I come in and the lentil soup is burned, or not cooked because you're just tired or, something came up, and then maybe you're distraught. You got bad news about family. You understand? So am I going to say, well, I don't trust you anymore because you didn't have my lentil, you know?
I'm
Or,
not sure.
huh?
Or that you won't show up for me when that time.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you back, so I'm just not gonna show up. I'm gonna let her know how it feels, That's crazy. How immature is that, you know? And then if I don't show up, when you say, "Well, lawyer let me down," and all that, and then you find out, you know, creator forbid, I fell down and hit my head and was unconscious for a day, and it was like, "I was mad at you. You didn't show up. I thought I could trust you." Yeah, I was in the hospital. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but why you had to go there in the first place? Why didn't you call and check up on me?
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
we come with a lot of damage, and if we're going to establish trust, then it has to be trust, and it can't be so easily broken
Yeah.
without communication. It is easily broken because now we tripping.
Mhm.
All the past. Yeah, I remember I was mad and she cheated on me, so I guess all women gonna be cheaters. You know, she ain't cooked the lentils because she got another man hiding in the closet some daggone where. So I go check. You know what I mean? It dumb stuff. But see, this is how the media plays on our minds.
But even with what you just said too, what I've heard in here as well is how they shift the blame on external. I've heard it in a lot of conversations. In fact, it might
Mm,
not be a thing that's done directly between the couple, right? But
mm-hmm.
it's something external, like,
Yeah.
well, that other. I know that there was a woman who had stopped making her man's lentils, right?
Hmm.
So that's what women do.
Yeah. That's what
But
women
this,
do.
but this is not even occurring in this dynamic that we have right here. But automatically, I'm writing this person completely off. I'm not going to show up the way that she wants me to show up
Straight.
because women out there be doing this and they
Yeah.
don't listen to men. And so, why do I need to show up in this dynamic for this one?
Right.
You know?
Especially the way that I do. You know.
Yeah.
So these are factors that I feel as though roundtables, should be more concerned with. What's happening here is what we call regurgitation, and and that is we just throwing up, vomiting basically the same old stuff that we was vomiting up back in the 1920s and 40s, and stuff, and it's like the society and all of what it has a grip on us, in terms of being black men, black women, and in terms of our job opportunities and in terms of our psychological damaging and generational traumas and enslavement, all that has been bred into us
Hmm.
to distrust leads to us not trusting ourselves.
That's what it all comes down to.
Bottom line, I trust you because I trust me.
Same. And every time that there's a moment of doubt, I'm going to question what is it within me that's showing you
Right.
that I'm not going to be who I say I am.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to listen to me saying that, then I would just have to question, well, why am I even here anyways? Because
Yeah.
I can't really do. I mean, I can only be accountable for the things that I actually done. And if
Yeah.
I have taken the assessment to look at what I've actually done and
Mhm.
made the necessary changes to improve,
Right.
that if I've done that, then I can't see why anybody would be holding something else beyond me that
Mhm.
never occurred with me
Right.
into this against me into the space. I don't see why. But again, if I'm doing what I need to do internally to make me confident in myself, secure
Mhm.
in myself to like, okay, in the moment of distress or whatever, well, what will I do? How will I react?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What do I need to do to improve that and strengthen that for myself? So whenever I'm reacting to something that causes me distress,
Mhm.
then it doesn't affect anyone externally, especially not my loved ones. Hell, I don't want it to affect me. I know,
Yeah.
I know that this is not serving me,
Mhm.
internally. So let me figure out what I need to do to correct behavior. But
But
that's where my security would come from if it's going back to self.
right, right. And I would trust you to do that. It's like, yeah, she makes mistakes, but you know, I always see her pulling it back together. You know what I mean? And moving forward. I trust the fact that she's aware of her growth, you know, and she's aware of the fact that whatever perfection is not, you know.
Hmm.
It's all about growth, and transcendence comes after so many trial and errors. You know, people ask me, well, how you know so much and how are you the wise elder? Because I made some very, very terrible mistakes.
See?
You know, not somebody tapped me on the head and all of a sudden, or somebody put chicken blood on me or whatever. All of a sudden, I'm there.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like no, it's like man, I really, I messed that up. I really should have done that better.
Hmm.
You know, and so I need to trust myself to continually improve upon myself, what we call iwakiri, you know, to continually improve upon myself. And when I see someone, you know, like you or all our kindred who are working through that process, then it's like, that's what I ultimately trust about you.
Hmm.
Not whether the lentils are there or you know, all nicely cooked and what all my favorite spices and all that kind of thing. You know, I can go to a restaurant and get that. Well,
Hmm.
maybe not, but you know what I mean. You know, I can hire a cook, you know. But what I trust is your trust in yourself, you know.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah,
We
we hit an hour and 30 minutes, so that's
yeah, all right, so we're done. We can continue this, but you know, it to me, in closing, it's not so much about hearing what, you know, they're saying because like I say, somebody can download or upload or whatever the video and
mhm,
you know have their own conversations about it. But what I really really like about what happened over these past 90 minutes is that we had dialogue about it. Whatever part of it gave us an opportunity, opened us up into
mhm,
establishing a greater trust between ourselves.
yeah,
Because if it didn't do that, then we're just as bad as they are. We're just following the script. Oh, we're just going to show this on YouTube. People going to like it. We get some likes, and we'll just, you know, say, you
mhm,
know, the first thing that come to our mind to chime in and yeah, they right. You know, it's like, no, I'm not rolling with this. I'm not feeling this.
No, that's why I said from a Isheshe point of view.
Yes.
I want,
Exactly.
and this is, and I shared it to you without you seeing it before. I didn't,
Exactly.
because I needed to be off the dome. Like, this is not a script, you know. Like I said, these are the thing. Their talking points is like,
Right.
it's like you already had the conversation or something. Here's what I'm gonna say when I get in there.
Mhm.
But it does open up, and I like you said, I like that the conversation is being met, is being had from our Isheshe perspective. Lord. Um, I um, I would like to, you know, continue it because it just they got some more talking points, and these are conversations that many of us are having today. My age, even older than me, you know, 10,
Mhm.
50 years old. Hell, my mother and father having
Mhm.
conversations like this. People that don't have answers to certain things, and it's
Yep.
not always about, you know, it's not always systemic issues. It's not always about, you know, the
Mhm.
way that we were, the things that they were saying. It's not always that. Like,
Mhm.
get back to self,
Right.
because you can't control things that happened hundreds of years ago. We can't control a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Can't We can only like think about what's currently happening right now. Because even if in a relationship dynamic, if two people come together and they decide that they do not want to subscribe to that, and they are that representation of people who are not living by these social engineering conversations that they're having,
Mhm.
then that's that's 50 years that a person did not have to go through that, because they
Yeah.
just decided, hey, let's dismantle some things here and have a real conversation. And we can spend 20, 30 years doing this,
Right.
as long as we know that we're making a change. And if they have children, that's even better. I
Right.
mean, their children might be the 1% of children that grew up in a household dynamic that didn't acknowledge that type of stuff, because this is how it was done here. But somebody did it, and somebody showed that there's a new way to do things. And it didn't take 40 and 50 years to get there.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I got to say about it.
All right.
Well, let me go ahead and oh yeah, before I even end, little plug here. We do have IFA Isheshe classes coming up. So if these topics or IFA Isheshe, you know, the way of IFA Isheshe is something that you want to explore, links are provided in the description. If you would like to get involved, join a community, the community has already been established. Sacred Waters Healing Temple is here. Right? Double.
Double.